Good morning and welcome back to Gaming with ADHD, where today we're going to continue our deep dive into the Alternity Player's Handbook. Now, today we're going to be talking about computers. Okay. I was trying to be funny and I hadn't it failed. I'm sorry. This is where the game starts getting into extra rules beyond just your dice mechanics. Essentially it is going to be how to use computers, whether in a modern type setting, future setting, what kind of things are available, things like that. So there are a bunch of rules associated with it, but there's also a bunch of gear. So we will be kind of skimming over the gear like we normally do, but we will read through all of the rules. So before we get started on that, I do want to point out, number one, this is being done as a collaboration with Legion of Myth. They're a friend of the channel, and MaxLiao and HeathenDog have been doing their own deep dive of the rules about how to actually play the game as opposed to just reading the rule books. And so there is a link to their playlist down in the description. I absolutely recommend that you go check that out after we're done here, or after you're done watching this on the replay. Whatever. Um, and anyways, so definitely go check that out. In addition, I have been looking over the remaining chapters, and I am going to try and finish the player's handbook this week. So we're going to do computers today. Tomorrow is going to be weapons and armor, and then vehicles. And then Thursday we'll do mutants, psionics, and cybertech. And that'll actually get us all the way through the player's handbook. Because then next week, I actually want to jump in to doing the Game Master's Guide. So, overall, I've been having fun doing this. But there's a lot of stuff that I'd like to get through. So, we are going to keep it going. This wasn't the plan is to make this a regular occurrence in the morning time. Yes, I do still need to make sure or get back to doing Monday and Friday painting streams, which I didn't do the last couple of days, but there's some other issues going on there. So that is coming. Now, one last announcement before we get started on reading. The original plan for the Tuesday deep dive was to do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've been in contact with Palladium, but I haven't heard anything in a few weeks. So I am going to put that on pause. Now, I don't, we're not ready to start a new series tonight. But I am planning on coming back and doing a stream if I can get enough sleep. That's kind of the catch there. But if I can't do it tonight, then next week the Tuesday night stream will return, where Peanut Gallery, or Kim as she's more commonly known, will be joining me to cover the Batman role-playing game from Monolith. So do make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, because obviously we've got that going on. Actually starting, I completely spaced it. Starting next Monday, I'm going to be joined by Sixth World during this time slot to actually cover Battletech Gothic. So we're actually going to do a read through of the rules for Battletech Gothic. So absolutely recommend that you come and check that out. So needless to say, I've got lots of deep dives going on, lots of opportunities for everyone to come and hang out. And I hope that you do. So, all right, now that we've been rambling for, 5-ish minutes, let's go ahead and get started. Suppose I should share the screen. We're super professional here, folks. All right. So, chapter 10, computers. I love how we've been making some good progress on this. Um again, I love the art for this book. All right. Characters in contemporary to far future adventures often have a need for computers. They need to research plans, gather data, infiltrate a secure system, or run a program of their own design. Other times they need to drive a car, make a call, watch a broadcast, or use any of a number of technological items that rely on computers. Starting at progress level 5, computers become increasingly integrated into the fabric of modern society. The information that follows presents the basic rules for using computers, then gets down to the specifics of the first 3 computer ages, progress levels 5, 6, and 7. What's up, Squirrel Hermit? You got here just in time. I figured I would just start reading by myself because there weren't any guests, but you are here now, and I appreciate that. All right. Let's see. Let me see if I can stretch this a little bit. All right. I don't like that. We're going to go back down to this. And I know, super professional. That's how I roll. Hold on. I'm going to play with the nope, not that. Now we're going to go with that. Okay, cool. I'm set. All right. So, using computers. In general, using a computer requires the knowledge computer operation specialty skill. An untrained character can perform basic tasks, word processing, playing a game, etc., without knowing any computer operation per se. Anything more complicated requires the use of the specialty skill. So essentially, this is like outside of an like everybody knows how to use it in, say, an office situation or a gaming situation, but if you want to actually use the computer, that's where you're actually going to need the skill. Computer operation represents a character's ability to get the most out of a computer's normal operating parameters. It allows a character to effectively use and operate a computer. For the technically inclined, the computer science broad skill and its specialty skills provide more extensive aptitude to characters willing to invest in additional time and training. By itself, the broad skill enables a character to retrieve information from an unprotected computer system, make repairs to a piece of hardware, and perform some basic programming chores as described on page 79 in chapter 4. Their specialty skills under computer science are hacking, hardware, and programming. Hacking can't be used untrained. From personal experience, I can tell you that is true. It allows a character to manipulate programs and infiltrate networks in ways the original designers never intended. In campaigns set at PL6 or higher, this skill is also used to operate specialized computers such as gridcasters. To use a gridcaster, however, a character has to be wired for data with a nanocomputer, cytronic circuits, and a neural interface jack implanted in his body. A character with hacking doesn't need computer operation. Hacking allows a computer to accomplish everything that computer operation covers and more. Hardware represents a character's knowledge and proficiency with the physical components that make up a computer. Understanding how a computer system works, being able to set one up quickly, designing and building your own computer, and at higher ranks, being able to repair computer components are all covered by this specialty skill. Programming provides a character with the training and expertise needed to write computer codes and modify existing programs to achieve a desired effect. So, this is all what's really interesting is like a lot of these terms, like I figured going into this, okay, so this was written in 1997, published in 98. So I figured that maybe it was going to be out of date, and surprisingly it's not. Like all of the terms, how they kind of fit in, um you know, not necessarily 100% accurate, but close enough for government work. Like if you understand these terms today, or if you take the terms out of the game and use them in real life, a lot of it's going to be very, very similar. What's We'll see when we get there. The only issue I really have is with the progress levels, but that's because we're 30 years down the road. And I'll kind of explain my thoughts on that when we get there. All right, one success or many. As with many other types of skills in the Alternity game, success when using a computer can be determined in one of two ways. For simple tasks or in situations when the game master wants to keep the action fast and furious, he can call for a character to make a single skill check. The better the result, the greater the degree of success. For time-consuming tasks or situations when the game master wants to build tension and suspense, he can require a complex skill check. He assigns a specific number of successes that must be achieved to complete the task. So this I think is normal. You want to make a computer do something, or find the program that activates the defense systems or disables the defense systems, whatever it is. Very easy to just say, okay, give me a success check, or a skill check on that. Or if you're trying to break into a computer program, or if you are trying to write a program to, because you're the hyperdrive went offline because the circuit got wiped out, and so you need to reprogram a circuit, something like that. That could be a complex skill check. There's lots of good ways to do it that just make sense and are easy to run with. So you've got a lot of options. Saying that there's reasons why you would use simple skill checks or complex, totally makes sense. The computer itself. For game purposes, a computer consists of a processor, active memory, stored memory, and various interface devices. This basic model holds true for all computers through at least progress level 7, which is completely true. So processor, that's a CPU, active memory is RAM, stored memory is your hard drive, and various interface devices, a mouse, a keyboard, a touchpad, optical tracking, voice commands, whatever. So, again, like the computer, for all intents and purposes, has not changed, at least from the printing of the book. Processor. The processor determines a computer's power, represented as a situation bonus to action checks when a character is specifically operating their computer. The bonus ranges from no bonus for marginal processors to -1 for ordinary, -2 for good, -3 for processors rated as amazing. A coprocessor can be added to a computer to provide a -1 bonus to a user's computer operation or hacking skill checks when specifically operating the computer. So this is where it gets a little wonky, but not too much. As far as as far as the processor, basically, like in today's setting, is it an i3 chip or an i7 chip from Intel? Is it the A9 or the A11 from Apple, that kind of stuff. You can use that as far as like how fast the processing speed is, how many how many computations it can do at once, things like that. Coprocessor, this could be interesting. Like a coprocessor in this case would be like Like to put it in modern terms would be like a video card or um I well, if you're old like me, a sound card or you know, a modem or something that's running specific commands to take that load off of the central processor. Um, so if basically like this, I think they make it kind of generic. Um, but I don't, if you wanted to as a game master, like make them separate things, so your tech ops has a hacking coprocessor or um uh, an AI coprocessor, something like that, an AI to run the defense system, something like that. Um, is how I would approach it. Memory. The quality of a computer's processor also determines its memory capacity. Processor divides its memory between active and stored memory. Active memory determines the number of programs that can be in use at a given time. Every program has a specific size equal to the number of active memory slots it takes up. A size 3 program, for example, requires 3 slots of active memory. Again, that's RAM. So, it's stuff that is active and is ready to be sent to the processor to be used. So, if you're setting up and storing programs, think of it as similar to like a wizard memorizing his spells, things like that is how you would use that. Stored memory represents those programs and data files stored in a computer that are not currently in active memory. For game purposes, stored memory isn't a major concern. Between hard drives and disks, character who can store all of the programs and data files she may want to carry around. Stored memory comes into play when a character wants to download data to her computer, and when the character wants to load programs into active memory. So again, it's your hard drive. How many programs can you store? What can you carry with you? It's going to be slow. It's not necessarily active. Where was it? Um, yeah, it's stuff that's yeah, again, it's hard drive. All right, loading programs. It requires an action to that was the example I was going to use. Keeping with the wizard example, the RAM is or the active memory is the spells that you have memorized. The uh, the the stored memory is the spell book. Okay, so you can know 8,000 spells, but you can only load so many of them into your brain. Um, All right, loading programs. It requires an action to move a single program from stored to active memory or to replace a program in active memory with one from stored memory. So you can get spells faster. Operating system. A computer's operating system, or OS, provides the basic parameters under which the machine operates. Every processor comes with a built-in OS that matches the quality of the hardware. Though the OS is considered to be active, it doesn't use up any active memory slots. Every OS includes the following basic functions: copy, delete, error recognition, file management, protection, protocol, and save. Copy allows a user to replicate files and programs. Delete allows a user to remove unwanted files and programs from memory. Error recognition identifies software or hardware problems, but does not provide the means to solve these problems. File management enables a user to organize the files in memory in any way desired, making it possible to easily locate any particular piece of information. Protection warns of viruses and other intrusions. Protocol allows the computer to interface with other computers, either via a network or by translating data from different operating systems. Save allows the user to store files for later use. So again, this is all basic stuff. Copy, copy a file. Delete a file. Error recognition. So as a game master, you know, like essentially this is like you could get super technical if you wanted. There's like just do a Google search for, computer error codes. but you don't even have to do that. Essentially, if you want to give the player, like, say they fail a skill check, or critically fail a skill check. You can tell them, oh, you see an error code that means this. The error code means this. Like, you don't have to tell them, oh, it's a 403 forbidden error. You just tell them, hey, you see an error code, and it's telling you that like you can't see the files, because we're going over to file management. That would be, there's ways that you can do it, and you don't have to know tons about computers or even computer error codes. But just, again, do a Google search for computer error codes. You'll find all sorts of stuff if you actually want to, add in a little bit of extra flavor. Protection is your antivirus. Protocol is your language, things like that. All right, interface device. Every computer comes with an interface device. This device allows the user to communicate with his machine, inputting data and retrieving it in some way. Standard interface devices include monitors, keyboards, trackballs, styluses, voice recognition technology, and neural connections that allow characters to plug their minds directly into computer systems. What's available depends on the progress level of the campaign and what the game master allows. GIDs, or grid interface devices, a special type of equipment for use with computers of progress levels 6 and 7, are described in detail under users in the grid. All right, computers through the ages, progress level 5. The information age is defined by an explosion in computer technology. Every year, smaller, faster, and more powerful personal computers hit the market and influence this way society works and plays. All right, so I should have specified ahead of time. This is where I've got a few quibbles, but again, they were projecting out and we're looking back at what they wrote. Okay, so if I complain about something, know that it's coming from looking back at this, and just trying to kind of put it into perspective. For the record, this is more or less what I do for the day job. So, but yeah, so I like how they describe this. So the information age is defined by an explosion in computer technology. I want to say it's Moore's law, where actually now I'm going to look it up. Moore's law. The observation that the number of transistors on a silicon chip doubles approximately every 2 years, leading to increased performance and decreased costs in computing technology. You know what? We're going to put that in a wiki article, or we're going to read the wiki article for that. I think industry experts have not reached a consensus on exactly when Moore's law will cease to apply. Microprocessor architects report that semiconductor advancement has slowed industry-wide since around 2010, slightly below the pace predicted by Moore's law. In September 2022, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang considered Moore's law dead, while Intel's then CEO Pat Gelsinger had the opposite view. So, like, that's why you saw the flood from 386 to 486 to Pentium to Pentium 2, Pentium 3, Pentium 4, the i5, i7, the i7 Silver Lake, whatever. Again, I'm kind of making up names because I don't remember them all at this point. But yes, this part absolutely correct. Let's see. Near the midpoint of the information age, the first grid appears. It's basically just a computer network accessed via modems, telephones, and cable lines. The basic computers of PL5 are the supercomputer, the mainframe, the desktop, and the notebook. So yeah, essentially PL5, remember that PL5 represents modern, and technically modern as of 30 years ago. It's very easy to kind of, slide a little bit. Oh, sorry. Slide a little bit, but more or less that's what they're going for. All right, progress level 6. The fusion age experiences a number of technological leaps that move it well beyond the capabilities of the information age. In the realm of computers, breakthroughs include three-dimensional crystal hologram memory storage systems, or 3Ds, improved processors, and cytronic circuitry that allows the users to experience virtual reality in the grid. The grid evolves, growing to cover the planet and the rest of the solar system as colonies and research stations expand to other planets. Besides developing to incorporate virtual users called grid pilots, the grid becomes an important interactive communication medium. Everyone in this era uses the grid. In addition to more powerful versions of PL5 computers designed to handle the new programs and technology, new types of computers appear: the gridcaster and the microcomputer, the nanocomputer, and the data slate. So, this is one of the bigger quote unquote issues that I have, because personally, I think we're still in that PL5 description, but we're sort of in that PL6 description. Data slates. That's your tablet, iPad, Android tablet, whatever. Nanocomputers. We have computer chips in so many things. Like think like the Raspberry Pi. It's a circuit about that big, but it has the CPU and everything that's needed on it. That may be considered like a microcomputer, but I mean, as far as nanocomputer, it's getting pretty close. There's full computers that essentially are built into HDMI bricks. So essentially, it's got like the only output on it is an HDMI adapter, and you just plug that right into your TV, and bam, you've got a full computer on it. So I personally, I think as far as computers are concerned for Alternity, we're kind of straddling the PL5, PL6 if you wanted to do modern games. But like PL6 would be, I think, would be a little bit more equivalent to like Shadowrun era technology. So maybe another 30 to 60 years in the future. I think PL6 is supposed to start around 2045, according to this game. So anyways, that's kind of my biggest like nitpick as far as it's concerned, but it's not horrible. All right, progress level 7, the gravity age, ushers in an advancement in computer miniaturization and power. The grid continues to evolve. As humanity travels to other star systems, it takes the grid along. Every star system with major human settlements constructs its own grid. With the advent of drive space communications, grid pilots can send their virtual selves, called shadows, to perform programmed functions such as picking up or delivering news and data. Though computers advance by leaps and bounds in this era, the percentage of grid pilots among the population at large remains roughly the same. Most humans just aren't willing to undergo surgery and accept mechanical implants in order to make full use of the grid. Instead, non-invasive machinery is developed to allow users to experience at least a fraction of the virtual gridscape. This technology employs sensory suits and virtue self goggles to simulate the sensations available to wired grid pilots whose shadows roam the grid. Most of the computers introduced at PL6 are still available, but the bulky, outdated machines of PL5 have all but disappeared. Instead, new technology has led to the development of the computer gauntlet, worn over the forearm and hand. In addition to its computing capabilities, each gauntlet has a specialized function. So yeah, this I think is interesting, just like the description of the grid or the matrix or the internet or whatever you want to call it. And their approach to it. Like one thing I think is interesting is, like, especially back at this time, like everybody was talking about virtual reality and matrix kind of operations, things like that, especially like when you look at something like Shadowrun. you know, like the whole thing was that there was this whole computer world that you would jack into or something. But I don't think that's necessarily the direction we're going anymore. Like you see things like Oculus that are kind of virtual reality, but that's more in your own local area. Whereas something like I think what you would see more is along like the gauntlet option, and using augmented reality instead of virtual reality. So I think it would need a few upgrades. I have the DataWare book, which essentially is the computer source book, but I haven't read through it, so I don't know if any of that adapts, because that would have been another year or two down the road from when the book got published. So, or when this book got published. Anyways, just something to think about. The progress levels, put them into their context. Essentially, it's a little bit of retro future tech, but I think it still works. Just a few things you would want to tweak if you actually want to make it, more modern like. All right, computer descriptions. The descriptions below detail computers as they exist at the progress level in which they are first introduced. Consider them to be the ultimate machines of the age. If such machines are still available in later progress levels, they have been upgraded to handle the new technology and programs of the age. Data slate. A data slate is the fusion age answer to pen and paper, replacing these antique items in almost all everyday functions. Basically, a flat screen and input slot, a data slate fits in the palm of the hand. By placing a 3D in the slot, remember 3Ds are those, crystal data storage devices, the user can review data on the screen. With a stylus or a neural interface, the user can manipulate data. Files and programs the data slate accesses are often stored on 3Ds. Since the stored memory is extremely limited in these devices, a D-slate can be connected to a larger computer or workstation to download data as necessary. A data slate has no grid interface device. So remember, essentially what that's talking about, is this. It's here, it's your tablet. Okay. Check it out. I even have a stylus. So that's why I say, like, I kind of look at us as being still sort of in the PL5 era. But this says, data slates are supposed to be PL6. All right. Desktop. The desktop computer is the standard personal computer, progress level 5. It isn't easily portable, but it can be lugged around if necessary. In such a situation, a desktop can't be used until it's reassembled and connected to a power source. Desktop includes a processor, a keyboard and mouse, a CD-ROM drive. Okay, that's the first. It's not even an anachronism, but like the first indication we are in an alternate, or we are in the past. An internal disk drive, a modem, and a monitor. Okay, that's great. Or it has the stuff that you have in a modern computer. Let's see. We do have a chart for, costs for the quality of the different computers. All right, gauntlets. The basic computers of progress level 7. Gauntlets come in a variety of specialized models. Worn over the forearm and hand, all gauntlets feature touchpads on the upper forearm panel and on the palm, a thin screen on the back of the hand, drive slots for inputting 3Ds or X3Ds, and various jacks for connecting the gauntlet to a computer interface mechanism. It's possible for a character to wear 2 gauntlets at the same time, but they can't be used simultaneously. All gauntlets are equipped with built-in coprocessors, which provide users with an automatic -1 bonus on any action related to the use of the gauntlet. So, essentially, it's a power glove. If you're old enough to know what a power glove is, if you're not, get off my lawn. Um, but I mean, like, if you wanted to have two gauntlets, I mean, I would absolutely set it up where, okay, one of them could be like have an active program that's like, fire and forget, and so it just runs. And then you're using the other one, more actively. I would have no problems as a game master running it that way. All right, computer gauntlet. The basic computer gauntlet is the personal computer of the gravity age. It replaces the notebooks and data slates of earlier ages. The computer gauntlet's grid interface is, see, here's a gauntlet. See, told you, it's a power glove. Is considered to be a dumb GID. Gridcaster gauntlet. The most popular Gridcaster of PL7 comes packed in a gauntlet. It can be connected by leads to a grid pilot's neural interface jacks, or NI jacks, or plugged directly into subdermal jacks that connect to the pilot's Citronic circuitry system without the needs for leads or cables. The Gridcaster gauntlet is a smart GID. See the grid on page 150. Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there soon. Medical gauntlet. The medical gauntlet is one of the most amazing devices of Progress Level 7. It is a dedicated medical computer with specialized diagnosis equipment built in. In addition to the standard computer interfaces located on the top of the forearm and hand panels, powerful sensors are built into the palm of the glove. While the normal computer functions can be used by anyone with knowledge computer operation or computer science hacking skills, the medical diagnosis hardware and software requires the medical science broad skill. In addition, depending on the circumstances, most of the medical science specialty skills can be used with the medical gauntlet. It is also a dumb GID. Professional gauntlet is a computer gauntlet with dedicated programming to aid its user in a chosen field. Bonuses provided by the quality of the gauntlet are applied when using a specific broad skill and its related specialty skills, not to the knowledge computer operation or computer science hacking skills. The gauntlets have dumb GIDs. A professional gauntlet provides a -1 bonus to the character's related skill checks when the gauntlet is used in conjunction with a specific application of those skills. Common professional gauntlets include the following items. The pilot gauntlet aids in vehicle operation, air vehicle, or space vehicle uses. The navigator gauntlet provides a bonus to navigation skill checks. Ops gauntlets assist system operation skill uses. A science gauntlet aids in life, physical, or technical science skill uses. And security gauntlets assist security skill use. Okay. Obviously, I'm assuming that, if you want to make one of your own. Oh, I just realized I did not have the book up. I'm sorry, everyone. Obviously, if you wanted to make up your own, work with your game master, but, come up with a reason why you could make another skill work with it. All right, Gridcaster. The Gridcaster, which first appears at Progress Level 6, is a specialized device designed to provide a virtual link to the grid. It isn't a standalone computer, but an integrated interface device that allows a user to access and manipulate the grid. A user must link to the Gridcaster through a Citronic neural interface and must then connect the unit to the grid to fully utilize the device. Fully portable, a Gridcaster measures about 25 centimeters square and 5 centimeters deep. In addition to a specialized processor and memory slots, it features a built-in keyboard, a grid interface link, and a Citronic neural link. At Progress Level 7, the Gridcaster comes in two models, the more popular Gridcaster Gauntlet and the less common Gridcaster Helmet. The helmet is a stylish device worn over the head and plugged directly into the user's NI jacks. Optionally, a Gridcaster can take the form of a pair of mirror shades or some other similar type of eyewear with built-in heads-up display. This device enables a Gridcaster to maintain a level of awareness of what's going on around him instead of being visually cut off from his surroundings inside a helmet. All Gridcasters are considered to be smart GIDs. So essentially, augmented reality glasses. Nowadays, actually, I'd go more with that as opposed to going with the VR. But if you want some like retrofuturism, going full matrix interface, totally makes sense. All right, grid suit. The virtual sensory suit or grid suit appears in the gravity age. It is designed to allow those who don't have internal nanocomputers and NI jacks to experience the grid. The user wears a full body sensory suit, VirtuCell full spectrum goggles, and total sound earphones. When the suit's interface cable is plugged into the grid, the wearer's mind and body plunges into the virtual gridscape. It's not as real an experience as being a true grid pilot, but it's as close as most people are willing to get. Full-fledged grid pilots require the installation of a variety of invasive devices, including nanocomputers, cytronic circuitry, and NI jack interfaces. While wearing a grid suit and being plugged into the grid, the user must remain at the location of his connection. In addition, as the grid sensations overwhelm him, all awareness checks involving phenomena of the real world receive a +3 penalty. All right, mainframe. A mainframe is a sophisticated computer designed to run powerful workstations in the home or office. The ultimate version of this machine, which first appears late in Progress Level 5, is a compact, powerful computer configured as a tower to fit underneath a typical desk. All mainframe computers feature a processor, keyboard and mouse, CD-ROM drive, an internal disk drive, a modem, and a monitor. A mainframe isn't considered to be portable. This machine is larger and heavier than a desktop and can't be carried around without great difficulty. As with a desktop, if a mainframe is moved, it can't be used until it's reassembled and connected to a power source. So, again, modern computer, probably in this case closer to like 70s or 80s style computer, but there you go. Microcomputer. This miniaturized computer first appears in the Fusion Age, replacing the notebook computer. It measures only 15 centimeters by 10 centimeters, consisting of a flip-open thin screen, a voice-activated interface, an internal power supply, a dumb GID, and an input drive. It features a power cell that provides a limited amount of energy, usually enough for 6 hours of continuous use. A depleted cell can be recharged in 2 hours. Extra power cells cost $200 each. So, essentially a laptop, but smaller. Nanocomputer. The first fully realized cybernetic control computer is the nanocomputer, making its debut in the Fusion Age. Basically, a nanocomputer is an extremely small processor implanted inside the user's head. The price of the nanocomputer includes cytronic circuitry that connects the computer to the neural network of its user. For a nanocomputer to be available in your campaign, your game master must be using at least a scaled-down version of the optional rules in Chapter 15, Cybertech, which we'll be talking about on Thursday. Let's see. Cybernetics and PL6 computers. Some of the computers technology of the Fusion Age necessarily makes use of cybernetics, the integration of electronic and mechanical devices into a living being. The rules for Cybertech are considered an optional part of the Alternity game. However, even if your game master decides not to use those rules, he may elect to allow a scaled-down version of the Cybertech to exist in his campaign for the purpose of enabling characters to use certain pieces of PL6 computer technology, such as the Gridcaster and the nanocomputer. Yeah, we basically read that already. Notebook, appearing at PL5 and remaining popular until the introduction of the data slate and microcomputer at PL6. Notebook is a self-contained, extremely portable personal computer. All right, you all know what a notebook is. I'm going to skip that. 4 hours of power. Supercomputers. A supercomputer about the size of a large cabinet or bookcase is packed with hundreds of terabytes of memory and processing power. Hundreds of terabytes. Okay, hundreds of terabytes is still good. That's. I mean, yes, you can get like 2 terabyte drives, but if you want hundreds, that's 50 drives. That's a bookcase. These computers are extremely rare at Progress Level 5, and few people have access to such computing power, even at work or via modem connections. Supercomputer controls and monitors systems within business, science, or manufacturing complexes, in addition to providing massive amounts of storage and computing power. All interfacing with the supercomputer occurs using either a dedicated workstation or via a networked personal computer. Active memory. For game purposes, a supercomputer has an unlimited amount of active memory, though limits may be imposed by the workstation or the network's personal computer the character uses. That's all fair. All right, peripherals. Various devices are available to expand or enhance the capability of a computer in some way. Only those items that are unusual or unique to the Alternity game are described. Standard peripheral devices of PL5 include the digital camera, digital recorder, printer, scanner, and stylus. The technology of PL6 introduces new devices, including the NI Jack, 3D, and X3D. Further advances in the gravity age lead to the development of the improved NI Jacks, including a subdermal and wireless version, and the introduction of the memory harness for use with the new AI programs. See artificial intelligence. Okay. All right. Neural interface jack. The neural interface jack, also known as an NI jack, is a plug located on the outside of a character's body. This plug connects to cybernetic circuitry inside the body, allowing data cables to link the user to cybernetic machinery. The most common application for an NI jack is to allow a grid pilot to link into his gridcaster and in turn into the grid. Without an NI jack and cybernetic circuitry, a character can't fully operate a gridcaster. NI jacks and other grid interface technology are first developed at PL6, with vast improvements being introduced at PL7. Oh, there's a 3D. Said it was a crystal, but okay. For you Star Trek fans, it's an isolinear chip. By the time of the fusion age, magnetic storage devices have been replaced by three-dimensional crystal hologram storage devices, commonly called 3Ds. A 3D contains a huge amount of space within its crystal interior, since data can be recorded in 3 dimensions instead of 1. Of course, program complexity and size has increased to fill the newly available space. While this makes new programming technologies possible, it doesn't provide the unlimited amount of storage space that was predicted near the end of the information age. The programs needed to access the virtual reality aspect of the grid and otherwise run the machinery of this age are stupendously complex and incredibly large. A huge number of PL5 programs can be stored on a single 3D, but no cutting-edge computer, operator, or grid pilot of the age uses the outdated, outmoded, and outclassed programs of the earlier progress level. They use updated PL6 versions of those same programs, versions that incorporate the newest programming techniques and make use of the newest technology. Each removable 3D can hold programs totaling 2 slots of memory. Larger 3Ds, called X3Ds, can hold up to 5 slots of memory. Okay. So, I mean, effectively, it's a thumb drive. I actually like how they put that, because especially like with my day-to-day job, dealing with programming languages and and websites and how things have changed and grown. They're all effectively doing the same thing, but the programs are much larger. The end result is the same. I get to buy my widgets off of Amazon, but the back end, the algorithm to control your search, to suggest items, things like that, add to the complexity of the programs. So yeah, it's it's a nice way for a game mechanic to say, oh, here is a program, it uses up a memory slot, it doesn't matter the progress level, because just assume that if you're in a higher progress level, well, the anti protection software, so the stuff to break into computers, well, it does the same function, it's just newer. So for game purposes, you don't need the extra details. All right, memory harness. Developed in the gravity age, a memory harness is a belt and full body mesh that contains a storage system for an artificial intelligence program. A character wears the harness to carry a scaled down AI. AI programs don't fit in portable computers, they're too large. A scaled down version of the program can be loaded into a memory harness to provide at least partial assistance outside a ship or complex that normally houses a full AI. The harness can be connected to a computer gauntlet so that the limited AI can interact with the wearer. The harness can even be equipped with sensors and speakers so that the AI can record data and observe conditions, as well as communicate verbally with the wearer. Okay, that's I don't why wouldn't you just like I don't know. I think if I was doing this, I wouldn't use the AI harness thing because there's better, cooler ways like the like just open up a communication with the AI. I don't know. I think I'm being nitpicky. All right. Subdermal NI jack. That's subdermal wireless. Okay, they're neural interface jacks, but cooler. All right, let's look at the grid. The worldwide computer network that comes to be known as the grid expands and improves as time goes by. Though they share many similarities, the grid of a particular progress level has its own characteristics. At progress level 5, the worldwide computer network of the information age connects computers via modems and similar links, making extensive use of telephone lines, satellite links, and other communication media. As the information age matures, many network servers appear. Most have links to each other, but each has its own rates, protocols, and areas of interest. In general, an access provider charges a flat fee for unlimited use. Most activity on the net involves entertainment, news gathering, and information sharing. Grid sites exist that are dedicated to almost every subject imaginable, and interested users meet constantly to trade information and opinions on a wide variety of topics. A hacker can attempt to sabotage or access remote computers connected to the grid, but this is difficult and often time consuming. Getting information out of the information age grid is a cumbersome process since a user often has to seek out and visit many sites to accumulate data. One useful feature is the ability to post a request for information. Though this takes time, eventually another user may read the posting and provide the information being sought. Every grid user has an online name to identify him without giving away his true identity. This online name is associated with the user's grid address and access account. Hackers can employ false addresses and accounts, though such subterfuge is guarded against by extremely powerful watchdog programs. Yes, that is. So I think it's a little funny because you know that's the internet. That's how the internet works. But yeah, that's sorry, I had to look at something real quick. But yeah, like for 30 years ago, how many people actually use the internet? You know, they were looking backward, this whole description makes perfect sense. Nowadays, I don't think it's as necessary. All right. Places in the grid. The grid consists of a vast number of systems linked by communications lines. Each system is a group of linked computer nodes connected to the grid. The three types of systems are public, private, and restricted. Almost like today. A public system can be accessed by anyone with a computer and modem. These systems include electronic mail services, public databases, electronic shopping and banking services, chat and bulletin board systems, corporate information boards, and topic-specific grid sites open to the general public. Public systems are considered to be unprotected, though the quality of the system determines how many layers of defense it has. For when a hacker attempts to access non-public areas of the system. Private systems make up the majority of the grid. These systems require passwords to be accessed, and records are kept on the number of users, who the users are, and what parts of a system they visit. These systems include private databases, fee-based entertainment, news and business services, and pay-to-play computer games. Private systems are considered to be protected, meaning that they have protection programs beyond the basic layers of defense that exist in a public system. Restricted systems are specially designed to prevent unauthorized access. Yay. Many private systems are connected to restricted systems that protect not only The private system's most sensitive data, while other restricted systems have no low security connections. These systems include high level corporate and government computer systems, such as utility and communications command centers, bank account files, personal data records, billing databases, personnel files, research and development systems, and classified government or law enforcement systems. In addition to protection programs, a restricted system has a greater number of layers of defense than the quality of its processor might indicate, usually from 3 to 12 more. All right, one thing I am going to say about network security. Most networks in reality are pretty secure. The problem is the users aren't secure. So when they talk even nowadays, anytime you hear about hacking, it's usually not because the software was bad, although there's plenty of bad software out there. But it's usually because what's called social engineering. So, especially in a role play concept, you know, using those role play situations, finding the secretary or finding the just think of it kind of like an undercover reporter, you know, doing stuff like that to get those information, to get the passwords, to get the access points, things like that. Those are going to be a lot more things that the players can relate to. Also things that will make the game a little more interesting than having to quote unquote shut it down to let the hacker character do hacky stuff. Okay. Actually going back to character creation, if somebody wants to make a hacking type character, I would absolutely have them put stuff into charisma and social skills because they're going to need it. To put it simply. Let's see. All right, types of networks, academic. Let's see here. Let's zoom out. Academic, access, corporate, financial, government, military, open, operation. Okay. Portal networks provide connections from one portion of the grid to another, usually for a fee. Okay, so that's not quite what we do. Ultra secure networks. For ultra secure, I would say that's what would be called air gapped. So meaning the computer is like maybe on a network, but that network isn't on the grid, in general. You have to literally be on that specific that specific network. So the user networks are computers in private homes that temporarily connect to the grid. So similar, but again, there's no outside connection on an ultra secure. All right. At progress level 6, the extensive computer network of the fusion age covers not only the Earth, but also any other linked sites throughout the solar system, permanent space stations and facilities on the moon and other system bodies. Technology improves by leaps and bounds, and a true virtual reality is established inside the grid. Users can work the grid from remote workstations as though it were a PL5 network, but to get the most out of the technology, a user needs a nanocomputer and a gridcaster. With these tools, users can generate grid selves to explore and manipulate the virtual gridscape. High-end users, called grid pilots, generate superior grid selves known as shadows. The gridscape. When a grid pilot links into his gridcaster and connects to the grid, a portion of his consciousness enters a newly generated shadow, which plunges into the virtual data stream. The cyber wind is raw and exhilarating, sending tingling sensations back to the grid pilot as the shadow rushes along. It takes nanoseconds to travel in the grid, but the gridcaster and its built-in programs slow the perception of the trip to a pace the mind can follow and enjoy. The electron stream empties into a raging data fall that leads directly to the grid. From this perspective, the grid appears as a latticework of glowing lines and lights suspended in a field of infinite white. This is the first view a shadow sees as it links to the dimension of data. The lines represent the billions of paths that carrier signals can take. The lights, the countless number of computer systems linked into the grid. It's Tron. Like, let's be honest, it's Tron or the Matrix, or you get the point. Anyone can use the grid. There are two basic grid interface devices designed to accomplish this: dumb GIDs and smart GIDs. Regardless of the type of interface device being used, it always requires an action to engage contact with the grid or to disconnect. Dumb GIDs don't allow a user to interact with the grid except in the most superficial ways. A telecom, the PL6 equivalent of the telephone, allows its user to call grid codes to converse with other users or specialized grid self-personalities. A grid station, another form of dumb GID, allows a user to view the virtual gridscape on a screen and interact through the use of prompts. A nanocomputer and an NI jack are not necessary to make use of dumb GIDs because those who operate them don't actually enter the virtual gridscape. Instead, they interact via a monitor, screen, or holographic projector, and some manually operated interface such as a keyboard or voice-activated interface. Smart GIDs include the computer systems of the age and the specialized gridcaster. These devices allow full interaction with the grid, though a user decked out with Citronic circuitry and a gridcaster can experience so much more by actually entering the grid. Most users who enter the grid with low-end grid self programs are rarely in any real danger. The programs and safeguards keep all but the most persistent threats at bay. Grid pilots, however, operate outside the parameters of the normal safeguards. For this reason, their shadows experience real danger that sometimes finds its way back to the grid pilot himself. So a prepared grid pilot generates the best shadow he can, arms it with the best weapon and defense programs available, and has a store of other important programs waiting to handle any situation. In the fusion age, a shadow exists only as long as its grid pilot remains linked to the system. When he breaks the connection, the shadow disappears. If the shadow was retrieving or delivering data, the data also disappears. The shadow must actually reach a destination to deliver whatever data it carries. Viruses, protection programs, system users, and other shadows all pose threats to a grid pilot and his shadow. Even so, the rush of the experience and the potential rewards are enough to lure most grid pilots into the virtual gridscape. The nanocomputer, complete with Citronic circuitry, is the advance in technology that makes the gridcaster possible. This biowiring, included in the price of the nanocomputer, permits electronic signals to travel between neural pathways and cybernetic machinery, allowing computer components to merge with human flesh. Circuitry also provides the foundation for other cyberware. See Chapter 15, which we will do on Thursday. All right. At progress level 7, each civilized technological star system of the age has its own grid. The various grids are connected via drive space communication relays, although it takes 11 hours to transmit a message or a computer program to another star system. For this reason, cutting-edge grid pilots use the Shadow Form 2 program. It allows a grid pilot to generate shadows that can operate within program parameters without direct connection back to the pilot. Otherwise, the PL7 grid is just an extension of and a natural improvement over the grid of the fusion age. So think of it more like an agent, or, you're creating a program that's going to go out and do something. What's up, Glenn? Glenn asks, have you played a space sci-fi that had hacking? Would have to put big limits on what the PC can do in order to prevent things like deorbiting a space station or dumping all the oxygen in a ship. I think that is absolutely reasonable. Like, in this particular situation, so say somebody wants to do that, deorbit a space station. Okay, going back a little bit where it talks about the different types of networks. This would be an ultra secure network. Like the space station control computers, I would say that those are air gapped. So you actually have to be on the space station, probably within like a certain area of the space station in order to actually even gain access. And then even trying to do anything is going to be like massively difficult skill rolls um to pull it off. Um it like one of the points, I'm not sure if you saw it, um, but one of the points that was made earlier is like, so the programs get larger as the progress levels go on. So, you could have you know, you could have an, I'm just going to say, I'm just going to use this as a bad example, but you could have an email application. Well, in progress level 5, it's a very low level program because all it has to do is go out, retrieve email, and then display some text, maybe a picture. But in progress level 7, well, your email program is going to be a lot more sophisticated because it has 3D rendering software and audio software. And so the program is much larger and much more complex. And over the time, the security comes along with it. So you know, while worrying about like, securing a space station and things like that, you know, as a game master, that's something that you could do a little bit of hand waving on, and either their nano computer isn't strong enough to execute the things it needs to, or the 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 difficulty of the skill roll is just way too high to pull it off. That's how I would approach that. Um, Sometimes as a game master, you just have to say no to the players. All right, activity in the grid. At PL6 and beyond, the grid generates a virtual reality in which grid pilots and other users can interact. Characters interacting only by a manual interface are never personally endangered. It isn't until a user adds an NI jack and a nanocomputer and connects via a gridcaster that personal danger becomes possible. Um, okay, that was it. I was expecting more of that section. All right. Programs. Computer programs or software are sets of instructions that, when loaded into active memory, enable a computer to perform a specific function. Every program belongs to one of three categories: um, operation, hacking, or utility, and is either marginal, ordinary, good, or amazing in quality. All right, we are not looking at all of the program descriptions. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's read this section real quick. The descriptions below detail computer programs as they exist at the progress level in which they are first introduced. Newer, updated versions of earlier programs exist at later progress levels. These have been modified to work with and take advantage of the new technology, but the basic function of each program remains unchanged. So, again, that would be your email program. Each program description begins with two important pieces of information: the progress level in which the program first appears, and the number of slots of active memory the program takes up when in use. So remember, doesn't matter what progress level you're using, it's going to take up the same number of memory slots because the program got bigger. All right. Operator programs help a user accomplish a given task. The situation die modifier provided by the quality of the program is applied to the user's knowledge, computer operation, or computer science hacking skill check, which determines how well the software functions during its current use. A marginal program provides no modifier. Ordinary is -1, good -2, and amazing -3. All right, so applications. An application program can be a word processor, graphic design utility, spreadsheet, business program, system diagnostics, or other program designed to accomplish a specific task. All right, so that's easy. Datadog, used to repair files and programs. Data scan allows a search for data files. Decode, used to unscramble an encoded file. Encode, used to create access passwords and scrambled data. Enhance, provides skill bonuses to cybernetic heroes. Entertainment, provides fun and diversion. Grid wipe, used to harm shadows. This program attacks a grid pilot's shadow form, weakening it by destroying programs the shadow is using. A grid wipe can be used in real time, or it can be delivered by a virus as a trap for an inquisitive shadow. A grid wipe program appears as a swirling twister of energy that locks onto and rushes towards the shadow who has been targeted or who triggered the grid wipe by opening a virus shell. When used as an active attack by its operator, the grid wipe program provides a bonus to the user's knowledge computer operation or computer science hacking skill check. The degree of success achieved reduces the quality of the target program. Ordinary 1 grade, good 2 grades, amazing 3 grades. When delivered through a virus, grid wipes remains active until it runs its course. The program can attack a number of times equal to its quality. Grid wipe can damage a grid pilot's shadow. If no active programs are available for the grid wipe to attack, the shadow suffers 1 point of mortal damage for each grade of quality that should have been reduced according to the user's skill check. Programs damaged by grid wipe can be repaired using a data dock program, provided the damage wasn't severe enough to destroy them. Okay. Reference provides accumulated knowledge on a specific subject. Surge, used to attack grid pilots. Trace, used to allows user to track a hacker signal. At the end of the day, folks, these are spells. You know, think about it. A hacker, tech op, whatever you want to call it, you know, is sort of a sci-fi magic user. So take that for what you will. Let's see. All right, let's read this sidebar. Progress levels don't mix well. In order to use a program created at a certain progress level, you need computer equipment from that level or a higher one. For example, although a PL6 computer can run PL5 software, no machine manufactured with PL5 technology can use PL6 programs. The computer system works most efficiently when the progress level of the hardware matches the progress level of the software. If a program or a data file from a progress level is loaded into a processor of a higher level, a penalty is applied to any skill checks an operator makes to use the program to or access the file. The penalty is +3 for every level of difference between the software and the computer, meaning that if a character runs a PL5 program on a PL7 computer, he takes a +6 penalty. Of course, software does get upgraded as technology advances. For instance, PL6 has new versions of the programs that were first developed at PL5. Depending on the progress level of his campaign setting, your game master will decide what grades of software and hardware are available for heroes to purchase and what the price of those items should be. Okay. Interesting. A +3 step penalty for, I mean, I could see that for like trying to run the actual old software. Because like you hear the stories like, oh, we found like this old piece of computer tape, you know, and we managed to get the code out of it, you know. Let's see. All right, we've got more spells. I'm just going to call them spells. Yes, I know they're programs. Utility programs, alarm, antivirus, control, gridlock. Yeah, pretty standard. Oh, shadow form. Let's read that one. All right. Generates a grid pilot's virtual self. This program is essential for the character who wants to be a grid pilot. Generates a shadow, which is the grid pilot's virtual self inside the grid. Without a shadow form program, a grid pilot can't make use of a grid caster or experience the virtual reality of the grid. Shadow has 3 ability scores: strength, dexterity, and constitution. While in the grid, these characteristics replace the ones used by the grid pilot in the real world. The scores are tied to the quality of the program being used. So marginal, ordinary, good, and amazing. These scores are modified according to the number of ranks the user has in computer science hacking. Increase each ability score by 1/2 the number of ranks the character possesses. For example, a character with 2 ranks in hacking increases his shadow ability scores by +1. Since the grid pilot controls his shadow directly, his mental characteristics are unchanged. The shadow form's resistance modifiers are determined normally using ability scores as determined above. The shadow's action check score is the same as its grid pilot score. A shadow's durability is stun equals constitution, wound equals constitution, and mortal equals 1/2 constitution. When using a shadow form program, a grid pilot continues to use his computer science hacking skill to use programs and take actions within the grid. Shadow Form 2, an advanced shadow form generator. This program generates an improved shadow that's designed to operate independently of its grid pilot's direct control. This allows the shadow to travel to and access grids that may lie light years away. Unlike the basic Shadow Form 2 provides a complete set of 6 base abilities and other characteristics depending on the quality of the program. These scores are modified according to the number of ranks the user has in computer science hacking. Increase each ability score by 1/2 the number of ranks the character has. For example, a character blah, blah, blah. All Shadow Form 2 programs have the equivalent of 2 ranks in computer science hacking to use programs and take actions. When a Shadow Form 2 program is sent into the grid, it can't receive specific direction from its grid pilot. As a result, the Shadow Form can't use the grid pilot's computer science hacking skill. All right, so I'm assuming with this, basically, you're going to create it and you're going to give it a specific mission. Go here, get thing. Or go here and remove thing. Like break security software, things like that. Static, transfer, virus. Writing programs. Characters with a computer science programming skill can Wizard cast denial of service. Yes, Glenn, exactly. Characters with a computer science programming skill can write their own programs. Writing a program is a complex skill check with one check being made each time unit. In general, writing all but the simplest program takes time. Time units for writing programs can be days, months, or even years. It isn't until higher progress levels after the introduction of smart computers, assist programs, and neural interfaces that the time units can be reduced to rounds, minutes, or hours. The game master determines the time units when a character wants to write a program based on the type and complexity of the program. So I'm guessing, like, hey, I would like to make, again, creating spells. I don't know why I tried to go into a super complicated example when we've got the good comparison there. It's a spell. All right, information retrieval. All right, artificial intelligence. We are actually almost done with this for today. So, an artificial intelligence program provides a vehicle or complex with a self-aware computer assistant or operations supervisor. At progress level 6, AI programs are new, expensive, and not integrated into everyday society. Not for lack of trying. In other words, they're rare and still somewhat experimental. Your game master may decide that AIs are unavailable in your campaign setting, even if the campaign is set at PL7. An AI program can't be loaded into a personal computer system. The program is simply too large and too complex to operate outside either a specially designed institutional or vehicle-dedicated supercomputer system. A scaled-down version can be loaded into a memory harness. The quality of the supercomputer's processor provides a situation die modifier for all actions an AI might attempt. An AI has 3 abilities: intelligence, will, and personality. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the stuff that's like actually interesting. An AI has a personality which can be suggested by the players, or designed by the game master. An AI functions as a member of a hero supporting cast, usually controlled and role played by the game master. What does an AI program do? That depends on where its computer system is installed. In an institutional facility, an AI monitors automated functions, handles security, and assists with research and development projects. On a spaceship, an AI monitors basic ship functions, watches for and alerts crews to maintenance problems, and can fill in for crew members at various stations, either when the crew is resting or otherwise involved, or when a crew member can't perform his duties for one reason or another. An AI constantly monitors the ship it's assigned to, watching for problems and systematically running diagnostics to make sure the vessel is operating in peak condition. Keeps track of all crew and passengers, answers questions with data stored in its memory, and provides logical advice when called upon for an opinion. In concert with a remote robot, an AI can initiate minor repairs or examine places where its sensors normally can't reach. An AI can operate all ship systems at its base intelligence score, though when called upon to actually perform as a member of the crew, it can only operate as one of these systems at a time. If the ship has a dedicated computer systems, the AI can apply the bonuses granted by those dedicated computers to its intelligence feat check. Okay. All right. Last bit, robots. Practical robots appear at progress level 5. These are basically automated machines, either controlled by a remote operator or by a dedicated computer program. These robots aren't usually multi-purpose, but dedicated to performing a single task or series of related tasks. Examples of PL5 robots include the units used in automated factories and machines built to be scientific research aids, such as deep-sea probes. As progress level 6 develops, programmable human-sized robots become more refined. Fewer constructed in human form, most are built to perform dedicated functions and conserve energy. If a 1 meter tall robot will accomplish its task as well as a 2 meter tall robot, then it might as well only be 1 meter tall. Robots of PL6 perform services ranging from sanitation and repair to construction and security duty. As robots become more adept, they are placed in jobs that humans find distasteful, tedious, or dangerous. At PL7, materials and technology become advanced enough to allow for more multi-purpose robots. In addition, the advent of true artificial intelligence creates computers that are more like partners than tools. These programs, too large to house within human-sized robots, make use of small robots to serve as their sensory extensions into the world. All right, and then characteristics of robots, which I'm not going to read all that because essentially it's character creation, but for robots. And spaceship computers. While the exploration and exploitation of the solar system figure prominently into many PL6 campaigns, most space travel is accomplished by space-to-ground shuttles and slow-moving space transports. These vehicles rarely find their way into a hero's possession except as a means to get from one place to another at the behest of a government or corporation. Spaceships of progress level 6 are stock models, as described in Chapter 12. All ship functions and systems make use of the computer that comes with the command compartment. Dedicated computer systems can be added to other compartments. That's fine. Okay. All right. So overall, I think they did the computers well. Obviously comparing it uh to 30 years ago, it's a shift. Most of the information, like I said, I think is still relevant. Um, there is some blurring of the progress levels as far as what we have actually developed versus what the game says is available. But I think that's just being nitpicky, and I think there's plenty of ways to just have fun with it and run modern games. Especially if you're going to do something like Dark Matter, where it is a modern game, it's easy enough to work with. So overall, I think they actually did really, really well with the computer section. So, where does that leave us for today? Okay, so for today, it means I'm going to go to bed. Tomorrow, we are going to come back and we're going to do weapons and armor, obviously, as I've got that on the screen. And the next section So weapons and armor and vehicles. That'll be tomorrow's stream. Thursday, we're going to do mutants. I think it's mutants. I should have kept the book out. Yes, mutants, psionics, and cybertech. Basically, we're not going to read everything out of them, but we're going to cover like the specific rules for those sections. But they also are kind of small. So, because remember, those are all technically optional rules and not going to be present in every game. So we'll do all that, and that'll actually get us all the way through the book. And then, like I said at the beginning, then next week we will actually, like, I want to go through the Game Master's Guide. So I'm going to keep going. Like the morning series is going to be an ongoing series, but the Game Master's Guide is like I want to do that one sooner as opposed to coming back to it later. So look for that. So with that said, I might be doing a stream tonight. Don't quote me on it. If I do go live, great. If not, it'll be here later for you to watch. I'm not sure what I'm doing because it's supposed to be Ninja Turtles, but I haven't gotten the material for it yet. And so then, yeah, for right now, it's just a matter of coming back and doing more of this. Obviously, I need to get other videos done, but for now, I'm kind of spreading myself thin on projects. So we're just gonna work with what I'm able to get done. But make sure you're subscribed. That way you don't miss any new content. Of course, as I also said at the beginning, in the description, there's a link over to Legion of Myth. Go check out their videos on the subject. They're doing great as well. I'm using that to just supplement, doing a read through. I'm enjoying the read through. I think it's making sense, but I really like Max's presentation as far as here are how the rules actually work. So absolutely go check that out. So with that said, I'm going to go to bed. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, everybody. I absolutely appreciate it. And we will talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye.